Hello and welcome to the 23rd episode of Dystopedia. I'm your host Matt Davidson, and once again I'm joined by my colleague Andrew Hodgson.
How you going, champ?
Oh, pretty well, champ. Yourself?
Yeah, I've sort of started the champing.
Oh, wow. For anyone who doesn't know, in Australia, calling someone champ is like the worst insult in the world. So, yeah, I'm a bit offended by it. Well, speaking of champ, what have you been up to this week, mate?
This week I've been regional, so I've been on the road doing a bit of that. I watched Spider-Man 1 the other day, the one with Tobey Maguire in it.
The true and only Spider-Man, by the way.
The true and only one. And you know why I watched it?
Why'd you watch it?
Because of that fucking stupid Nickelback song we put on the other day. I just had to watch the movie, so it's done its job.
I'm not gonna stand here and wait.
Great marketing, you'd say, right? And is it one of those songs too, when the music video has like clips of actual Spider-Man, the movie in it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was peak, wasn't it?
It was a simpler time.
Can they bring it back?
I wish they could.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know if it was a less cynical time or it's just nostalgia, but yeah, you know when you see that shit, you're just like, oh, like if you love the movie, you're gonna love the song.
Yeah.
It's like you're pulling the wool over our eyes, and we're all idiots, but we all fell for it.
A bit like "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal. You know, the Batman inserts in it.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Is that 2 musical inserts already?
Oh no. Yeah, you could be spending a long time editing this day, mate. Well, I've recently finished, because I finished Breaking Bad, and I'm like, when you finish a good show, you're like, I don't know what to do with my life now. It's just so...
Yeah.
I've been dusting off my Switch too. I've been playing a bit of old Banjo-Kazooie, actually, during the week.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got a bit of a controversial opinion on the game as well, like the soundtrack. I'm going to say it right here, right now. I think Treasure Trove Cave is a better island song than Koopa Troopa Beach from Mario Kart 64. Yeah, I know.
I'm going to tell you to get fucked.
Yeah, I know you're going to get...
But I'm saying that, it's emotional. I haven't heard it.
Yeah, it is so bloody catchy. It's been stuck in my bloody head for a couple of weeks. Like, it's such a feel-good song. Like, oh...
Well, let's put in 2 more musical inserts right here, and let's let our audience decide.
Yeah. Write us in what you guys think, we want to know.
All right, so here's Koopa Troopa Beach.
Like, absolute... it is still a classic, don't
That's
get me
a banger.
wrong. It is.
How does it get better than that? It doesn't.
Oh, but then, now, listen to this. Listen to this one. It's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
Yeah.
No, it's been stuck in
I'm a little bit conflicted.
Yeah, you're conflicted. Are we going the old 1A, 1B trope again,
Yeah, maybe let's do an episode on diving into why these songs are so addictive and what makes them so good.
I know, it's just... and it takes you back to that simpler time as well. And the thing I love about playing Banjo-Kazooie, I don't know why a beaver, bear, and a bloody bird are teammates and they're running around getting a witch. I'm like, I don't have to question the plot. I just out there and have fun.
Who cares? There was no prologue. I don't need to know their story.
Yeah, exactly. And another game I actually just picked up a couple of days ago because it was just released. It's called Donkey Kong Bonanza.
I saw that. I was at the shops today and I saw that. It looked very intriguing.
It is. It's very addictive. It's kind of like Mario meets the Hulk. So you like smashing stuff and all that. But some great silly monkey business goes on a lot of it too. Hasn't been a banana split at times.
Fuck's sake.
I was thinking of that all day actually.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, the game when we played Donkey Kong, you go a bit ape shit, no pun intended. Yeah.
What kind of a start is this?
I know, it's great, isn't it? It got me thinking of that. You're talking about that other monkey movie that came out in the 90s.
Oh, Dunstan checks in.
Yeah, Dunstan checks in. So
that's a very silly film.
I watched the trailer. I was like, is this James Bond or something? Or like, what's going on?
I think that trailer was a little bit misleading.
Oh, was it? Oh, fair enough.
I feel like writing in the saying.
Yeah. Caught you off guard.
It did.
Well, enough of this monkey business. We'll get to the real topic at hand, which is...
Jesus Christ.
Well, last week we did Demolition Man, which is another fun, quirky film, but we're going to something a little bit more, I'd say, serious a topic today and serious kind of show, which is Black Mirror, and in particular episode called White Bear.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think before we go into the episode and stuff, when was the first time you came across Black Mirror?
2 or 3 years ago, maybe. I remember you'd brought it up once, and I said I'd never seen it, and you were shocked. You're like, "You've never seen Black Mirror?" You know,
Yeah.
I just, it's one of these. It's always been there, like on Netflix or something. I've just never really got around to it. But as soon as I found out that Charlie Brooker was a writer on it, I thought, I've got to watch this, because I liked a lot of his earlier stuff, like Dead Set, which we will go into a little bit later, but even the character Philomena Kunk and everything, like he does a lot of good work on sort of social commentary and satire and that. So I thought, fucking as soon as that, and it was like, there was like 7 seasons of that when I was like, oh, this is great.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got to the end of it in like 2 days. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Like, yeah, what do with my life now? Feel like me with Breaking Bad recently.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, like, I was later to the trend as well. I remember always seeing it advertised on Netflix and stuff popping up, and it's one of those, because I'm one of those people too. When people go, "Oh, you have to watch this show," I'm like, "Oh, fuck off! I'll watch it when I'm ready to watch it, or when I decide it's good to watch it." Yeah, when it's not mainstream to watch it. Yeah,
it's like if you like it, that's probably shit.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah. But I think, I remember my sister telling me about it, and then, I finally caved in and watched I remember watching that first episode with the Prime Minister.
Having sex with a pig.
Yeah. But then the premise of it, and then the other ones too, with where they're recording the eyes, and people's stuff, like, oh, this is really intriguing, really goes in towards those dystopian things that we always like talk about and enjoy. But yeah, I remember this episode in particular, when, obviously there has a big twist at the end of it, and it really catches you off guard. You're like, oh shit, and it kind of like got you that kind of thought process about the way we act in regards to killers and people, trial by media and stuff like that. So
it does so much in 45 minutes, doesn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. And it's one of those ones, like, it's done on purpose, where like it makes you empathize with the character and doesn't give you like any hints or kind of explanation up until the revealing point where it could go that direction. So that's why it really catches you off guard. You're like, oh shit, I'm actually feeling bad for this person, but then should is feeling bad, or is this the whole point he's trying to raise, kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Or is the problem with us the way we consume and the way we, as you said, the trial by media and our want for public execution and our want to see people suffer. Like it takes you down so many rabbit holes, really.
Oh, it does, absolutely, yeah. No,
and just on that, I mean, and the very fact that like it's an anthology series.
Oh yeah.
So like every episode is different, and how he thinks this stuff up.
Oh no, don't. Yeah. It's kind of like you can see its inspiration comes from like a Twilight Zone or something, obviously. But yeah, this is more kind of, Twilight Zone's more that kind of the supernatural kind of things, like the anomalies and stuff, like fourth, third dimension stuff. Where this one's more based on futuristic, near future kind of technology and AI and stuff,
or the dark side of technology.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those great debates with we have at the moment with AI. Like, there's so many benefits to it, but then there's other, as you said, like another dark side to it, and it can be exploited and be used for nefarious purposes. Yeah,
good word.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, bloody wordsmith, mate. Yeah. I'll pronounce that, but then I'll stumble over something basic, I'll mumble over something.
Is that all that Cormac McCarthy you've been reading?
Oh, it is, yeah. Bloody Cormac McCarthy. He's in my soul, that bloke.
It's been a bit of a Cormac McCarthy fan club in the last 4 or 5 episodes here, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, bloody hell. Yeah, it's like as I said in previous episodes, like, it's like when you first read 1984, and you're like, oh, I want to explore all Orwell stuff. Now it's kind of, I've got the same effect with him, so.
Yeah. Sorry, Matthew, before we do move any further, what are we drinking today?
Yes, we're on the Young Henry's Newtowner Australian Pale Ale.
Yeah, so, I think we were taking the piss out of Newtown last week or the week before. But
because we're going with Marrickville, weren't we? Before?
Yeah, we're Team Marrickville. Yeah. But this isn't a bad drop, this one.
I don't mind it, actually. Yeah,
I haven't had a pale ale for a little while.
And its slogan is "Serve the people," and they've done that pretty well.
They have.
I hope we do the same as well when we put out these podcasts.
Yes, it's a very socialist slogan, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
All in one for all, something stupid like that.
That's
Yeah. Well, before we get into the actual plot and the episode itself, I think we should go back into the history of the making of the episode. So of White Bear. So
as we've already been through, so Charlie Brooker, so he is known for his media critique, satire, and dystopian fiction. A lot of inspiration comes from the Moors murders in context of this episode. Just for anyone who doesn't know, so the Moors murders were a series of 5 known killings carried out between 1963 and 1965 by a man called Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. So that was in Greater Manchester in England. So their victims were children and teenagers ranging from the age of 10 to 17. These crimes, they actually really shocked the UK for their, premeditation, their sadism, and the methodical nature of them. I don't think they'd ever really seen anything like this before.
And also to like the age demographic of the victims.
Yes. Yeah, and the way they sort of lured their victims in and using bruises to gain trust, and then they abducted them, abused and murdered them.
And it was a lot of time it was like slow and methodical too. It wasn't like just like a quick killing or something. It was torture.
Yeah,
And,
as I say,
very depraved,
and very sadistic. Yeah, and what was particularly horrifying about this was that Brady and Hindley actually documented their crimes. There's actually audio recordings of the torture of a child called Leslie Ann Downey. There's photographs of the victims like gagged and terrified, and it was that deliberate act of the recording that kind of magnified the public outrage. I guess the crimes weren't only brutal, but they were voyeuristic. It kind of that takes us to this episode.
Yeah, I think what we've seen too with, I've watched a lot of true crime stuff. I'm guilty of being interested in it sometimes, but if people like that and serial killers, they love keeping trophies. So that's why taking the photo, it's like that. It reminds them of the pleasure they got from doing that. And it's really sick and sadistic like that. Yeah, it's just pretty awful.
And a focus on Myra Hindley as well, particularly in the context of this episode. So she became a national symbol of evil. So her active participation, combined with societal expectation of sort of women as carers, made her involvement especially shocking. But there's an element of sort of gender bias there. You know what I mean? Like she was complicit in the child's death, but I guess the societal expectations there of women as carers. How could you do this to a child? You shouldn't be as evil. You generally with serial killers and things like you would always usually think of a man, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
So that was because of these sort of gender biases and stuff. It's particularly shocking to the people of the UK. Yeah, because of it, and we see that parallel in the episode we're about to go into.
Yeah, I think these set of murders were probably the biggest one in the UK since probably the Jack the Ripper style back in the day. Yeah, so it really caught the attention of the public eye and stuff and the media and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely it's one of those ones that they're still talking about this case, 60, 70 years removed from it now, right?
It was at 1965, I think they were arrested. So yeah, what's that? Yeah, 60
years ago, yeah.
Shit. 60, exactly 60 years ago. Yeah.
Time flies,
Yeah, there we are. So obviously, that's, there's inspiration from that. This was actually, it was originally meant to be a post-apocalyptic story. And they were quite late. It was quite late in the day. I think the episode was already written up, and they were scouting locations. And I think there was a RAF base, RAF Dawes Hill, but I think it used to be an American Air Force base on British soil. And they were scouting the location. I think the gas station that you see in the episode was there. The accommodation, everything was there. And then Charlie Brooker saw a fence and he just had an idea and just ran off. And I thought, no, I've got to rethink it. And he came up with this idea, and he just wrote like mad for a few days. And the episode that you see here. Yeah. God knows it was something about the fence, the idea of the Justice Park, Yeah,
it's kind of a bit like Harlan Ellison. He'd write a short story within like 6 hours. Something. They get obsessed with something, and they're geniuses like that. They can just pump out something so methodical and like brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, but you think being so late in the day as well that you're scouting to actually, you know what? I can do it better. I've got something better to say here. You got a lot of time for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But there's there's a lot of stuff in. There's a couple of nods to what the old episode would have looked like. Because I think the old one was meant to be. I think it all culminated in like a public crucifixion or something, and you do see that, particularly in that forest scene in the movie they go to, you see a person up or a woman up in the tree and everything. So they kept elements of that original story in there too. Yeah, as I say, Charlie Brooker, you would say White Bear. This would probably be one of his darkest critiques, I would say. Not just the society, but you as the viewer. The way it does, particularly that twist ending. He talks a lot about, I guess, spectatorship. That's basically the act of watching something without taking part. It's how audiences view, respond to, and make meaning from what they see. It can be passive, like just watching, or voyeuristic, or even complicit. But I guess the spectatorship becomes in White Bear is the moral space between doing nothing but enjoying the fact. You're enjoying someone be punished, that sort of thing. But it actually wasn't. This wasn't the inspiration for this episode. This wasn't his first foray into critiquing spectatorship. So, as I was mentioning before, in 2008, he did a show called Dead Set. Now, it's a 5-part series. Actually, I didn't watch it too long ago as well, but I remember watching it back at the time. Yeah, it's a 5-part series that came out in 2008. It was a zombie apocalypse basically meets Big Brother, heavily influenced from Dawn of the Dead. Now, if we know what George A. Romero did with Dawn of the Dead back in the 70s, this is probably known as one of the first attacks on sort of consumerism. That I guess we've spoken about John Carpenter in the past, that he was a real inspiration to him for sort of They Live and everything. He kind of twisted that on its head and kind of talked about spectatorship and how much we're almost addicted to TV and we're glued to it, and then the whole reality TV thing as well. I guess the TV viewers ignore the real world. Housemates die on camera. and the audience basically become the zombies. That's kind of the point he was making, what he was making with it. But yeah, it was very interesting. I very much recommend watching it, and we should probably go into it. But yeah, this kind of lays the
we think too. 2008, you said it came out.
2008,
yeah, that was peak of the reality TV series,
Yeah.
and then what was it? The Truman Show was about 10 years before that, so that would have been maybe a bit of an inspiration for that as well. And and no, it makes sense definitely. Like it is a fascinating kind of subject in that way.
Yeah. It's a very interesting adaptation of Dawn of the Dead for that time, and just attacking something very similar to consumerism. Well, I guess it's a form of consumerism, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's consuming media, just glued to it.
And it's only gotten worse now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has. And he even mentioned like there was an inspiration that he mentioned for this episode of White Bear, that whilst they were filming a scene for Dead Set, they were running away from zombies in the scene, and he just saw school kids just filming it. And he kind of had this light bulb moment. He's sort of thinking like, obviously they were just filming, moving maybe. He's like, that would probably happen though, wouldn't it, in today's society? You know what I mean? Would you step in to help, or would you record it for views?
Yeah.
There's that whole thing. And then the evolution to White Bear. We don't, as I say, we don't just watch suffering, we enjoy it. The public becomes a punishment system, and it kind of makes us part of that dystopia. So he talks a lot about the Wicker Man. Have you seen that?
I know what it's about, but I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah. Well,
are we talking Nicolas Cage Wicker Man, or the one with Christopher Lee one?
Obviously, yeah. Obviously, the Nicolas Cage one.
Yeah, of course.
I like the classics.
Not the bees.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
But yeah, so he talks that the Wicker Man structure was a big inspiration, in fact, a direct inspiration for White Bear as well. So if you look, like the fact that it's structured like a horror movie, and then it kind of flips it into something else. I guess when we see the protagonist, he goes there, and we root for him in the movie, and then I don't want to give the spoiler away, but it kind of turns that whole idea on its head, and you know what I mean. And now we're scared for him, and we feel something else that we didn't. It kind of lures you into that, and this does that. This episode does it in a very similar way, but yeah.
No, I was reading too that he was Charlie Brooker was a big gamer as well, and he used to write reviews for magazines and stuff. And people have said that other obviously zombie games like Resident Evil could be an influence, but one in particular which is kind of relevant was a game by Rockstar back in 2004 called Manhunt.
Yes,
and this game was very, very controversial. It was like rated R, 18 plus only. But basically, it follows the premise of people paying a killer to go around and torture people on film, and then record it and then send it off, and people pay to watch it. So, and it follows that premise. And this is very kind of, you can see the themes of that throughout this. Yeah. I thought that was very interesting because he's a big lover of films and games and other forms of media too. So you can see like this one episode's got so many little different elements into it, doesn't it? So much inspirations from other parts of media. Yeah,
and he talks about like the rise of like dark tourism as well. And particularly, I've got a quote from here. He was talking about with what happened in Libya in 2011 with the Arab Spring. Tourists were flying over there, and there was seen like news reports of people like filming the destruction and what was happening. I think there's a quote of him saying it was like Dawn of the Dead, except they're not feasting on the body; they're snapping images of it. That was what it was almost evolved to, and that idea of violence as tourism.
Yeah, what's interesting, when I was in America back in 2013, we went to because in Washington, D.C., they have so many museums everywhere, in the Smithsonian, and one of them was the FBI museum, the crime one. Yeah, and you're going in there and you can see, this was Bonnie and Clyde's shot out car. Another one was the Unabomber, his actual hut, that little shack, that cabin he lived in. Yeah, they dismantled it and replaced it in there, so you could go see it and view it and things. Just like
there's industry built off it.
Yeah, but then I'm fascinated by it. And I wanted to see it, but then at the same time, this is a bit morbid. Like seeing where a guy that's went on a killing spree, bombing people. And then you're seeing where his actual house was, like what it looked like. It's pretty. It's a bit messed up. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I'm guilty of that sort of stuff myself. As I say, I've been to Chernobyl for a similar reason. All right, more so to see. I knew what happened and see, I guess, what destruction or what it looked like, what nature. I guess what it looked like nature taking it back, but it's still that still is dark tourism. It still is.
Oh, it is. Well,
Yeah.
you think when you go on tours and you go look at World War II battlefields and things
Yeah.
like that, or where I was in Munich about 6 months ago and saw where the Munich push was, and seeing where the Nuremberg rallies and things like that. It's like, well, that's part of. I mean, technically, that means there wasn't actual violence going on at the rally, but what it represents,
what it led to. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what we're all kind of guilty of, and that's the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And this is what Charlie Brooker makes you think as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah. Questions everything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I guess also too, like I think in general, humans have always been kind of fascinated by crime. Like no matter what it is, we've always, I think, because murder and mayhem and things like that. It's something. I think because we're very instinctual based creatures, and we will always look out for danger signs, right? So someone like like the Moors killing, for example, like it's not like they knew the victims. They picked them off randomly, and that's what makes it more intriguing and fascinating in that kind of way, where people want to find out. What made these people act the way they did, and what was their childhood like to make them become this monster down the track, or were they born evil, or was it their environments? It's kind of like it's always been viewed in that kind of way.
Yeah,
and I kind of find, and then obviously too with the rise of mass media and things like that. We talked about in the RoboCop episode. If it bleeds, it leads with media in particular. And even though mass media has like kind of made it like a lot worse, but it's always been an intriguing thing. So if you look back at old newspapers from 120 years ago, the leading headlines were always something like a murder related thing or a trial and things like that. There's an article that came out in the University of North Carolina, and it was basically it's an article about like why are we fascinated by true crime? What's the the cause of it? According to a professor called Patricia L. Bryan, she says that people listen to it and watch crime stuff because it baffles them. On their faces are constantly the questions. Could she really have killed them like that? What drove her to such a thing? What was the secret behind it? Was it kind of, are they a psychopath? Was it a domestic violence thing? Was it, what I mean? Like we're always intrigued by it. And the way it's kind of like come now full circle, like formulaic with, true crime, like Netflix series and podcasts and stuff. It's the way they present it to it in a way where it's like, you don't know who did it at first, and then you're finding little, you're retracing the police steps and little crumbs and drama and mystery behind it. Then we finally find out, oh, it was this person all along, kind of thing, and then we go through the whole trial process and stuff.
Well, I think you've gone onto something there in this fact. I think it's easy narrative, and I think that's why, particularly in the days of media, it's the fact that there's villain. Victim punishment.
Yeah,
and it's a dangerous thing always. So we can put this narrative on it, and through the lenses, it almost feels like fiction.
Yeah,
like it's an easy story. The punishment's proportional. Like he's a villain. He killed this person. He should be sentenced to death. It's like,
and then with the trial too, it's like, oh, was the sentence too lenient, or was it too harsh, or was it? And it brings up those fascinating, like those kind of it fascinates people in that aspect too, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's a moral comfort in it too. When I guess we watch it. Oh, well, I've never murdered anyone, so I must be good. I must be a good person. When you're watching the worst of society. And the weird thing, like, murder is so overrepresented that with the rise of true crime, and I think what you're saying, like, the true crime podcasts are what?
Yeah, the statistic that came out, I think it was in 2023, the top 3 podcasts in America, number 1 top genre was comedy.
Yeah.
Number 2 was just news in general, and number 3 was true crime. So that it's in the top 3, like always consistently. Like it's just.
And you've only got to look at the documentaries on Netflix or any other streaming platform. It's everywhere, and it would make you think that murder is everywhere. But in actual fact, if you look at the global stats, I think murder is less than 1% of all crime.
Yeah.
It's statistically so rare. But it kind of lulls you into that false sense of
that's what makes it fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Because it is rare, and then it has all those aspects we just touched on before. That's why people get so intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And when it's more the random one as well, or the one where it's like a serial killer, that's what fascinates people. It's the randomness of it.
And that's a funny thing. I was gonna say, where are all? There's no more serial killers anymore.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in the sense of, when was the last serial killer you found? The days of the serial killer, you remember it was like the 70s, 80s and all that? It was, and the 90s even?
I think because crime, because of technology and DNA and stuff, like police techniques were a lot more improved and could get with DNA and things like that. They can solve the crimes a lot easier now.
Death of the serial killer.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen in this day and age. It's been eradicated.
Yeah, well, the CCTV footage everywhere now. So people record it and stuff. So you can't get away with it like you can before.
Yeah.
Also, the ones, the famous one was in America, the Zodiac Killer. They still don't know how it is. The same with Jack the Ripper. And it's like who is it? We've got to find out all the details and go down the rabbit holes.
Oh, we love it. Yeah,
it's fascinating.
It's a huge industry. I mean, there's even like fear sells. I mean, there's ads. I was even listening to something they were talking about the true crime channels in the US and the true crime podcasts. The amount of money that the home security companies like Ring and stuff actually spend on getting ad space or relevant ad space in these things, because fear sells.
Yeah.
And I think it's something along the lines of about 80% of the viewership of that, it's women.
That's the main demographic, definitely.
Yeah. So it is definitely painting this picture like it's dangerous. Don't go outside. Don't talk to anyone. Look after you. You're going to be murdered. Like, you know what I mean? And
lock your doors at night.
Buy this Ring security system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's smart. I'll give them that. Great product placement.
Everybody's profiting off this,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, look, I think it's like, murder gives us a story arc, and I think that's why it's box office, and that's why it as you say, if it bleeds, it leads. It's so much easier than like systemic injustice or something. A lot of the other crimes are because of systemic issues, but it's often hard to think about that. Like you don't want to. It's not as comfortable as to sit there and think that they might have robbed a house, or they might have robbed something because they were poor and they needed to feed themselves and they were pushed to that. You know what I mean? And then is it something systemic and it blurs the lines? It's not always easy to. And then if you start digging deeper, you're kind of. Are you complicit? Are you profiting from a system that disproportionately affects someone else? You know what I mean? You don't want to start questioning that stuff. Murder's easy. It's open. It's victim, villain, punishment. Bang.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just on that too is like, even though this is true crime, but you think of all normal fiction shows on TV. What's the most popular ones that go around? It's always your Law and Orders, your police ones. It was at the NCIS, CSI. Yeah. It's always, you look at through the history of television. There's always one of those detective shows or something crime related. It's always at the forefront, and it comes in waves and circles, right? But the one consistent one always seems to be that Law and Order SVU. That's so popular.
And dare I say it. It's all about simplicity, and there's structure, and it's a structure that never changes. And I'm going to say something quite controversial here. It's almost as formulaic as a Nickelback song.
There you go.
I mean, we know it's musically repetitive, and it's straight to the point. It's verse chorus verse chorus verse chorus crescendo verse chorus. Just when you think it's going to end, it lifts it again. Yeah, we know what we're here for. We know what's coming.
Oh, it's perfection, isn't it? Yeah, they know they perfected it perfectly.
But the point is, like, it's you don't have to think too hard. You just feel, and it's I say there's no thinking, but somehow it's addictive.
Yeah,
and somehow it works. Yeah. Would I say that Nickelback are probably the true crime of rock music?
Yeah, I think also just back onto just after that beautiful Nickelback song. You think back to like even like the Middle Ages and stuff. Like we're talking about this show, using someone as a sacrificial lamb and scapegoating and punishing people. One of the great family outings on a Sunday afternoon was watching like the local execution, and people feel like they're getting their 2 cents by throwing tomatoes at the person that's committed some horrendous act they've been accused of, and watching them either hang or get the guillotine or the head chopped off the block. Like it's definitely not a new phenomenon. It's always been part of us.
No, and I feel like it's always been, even right today with the death sentence, some people on death row, and you're choosing, you argue about how they should be killed and how it should be, but it's always seems like it's been sort of retribution, or even, dare I say, entertainment, sort of packaged up like justice.
Yeah, definitely.
It always feels like you need. I don't necessarily think there is any justice in it. Is there closure? I don't know, but it almost like society needs a scapegoat. Society needs someone to blame. It's not really about why it happened. It's who's to blame. Like that seems to be the way it's always been.
Yeah. Obviously, in America, they've still got, like, out of the Western countries, like America's the only one. Like certain states have death penalty where obviously in the UK, Australia, we don't have it anymore. But what's been interesting recently, there was like in Victoria, in Australia, in Melbourne in particular, there was a guy that was exposed as a massive pedophile, like in amongst childcare centres. He had mass stuff, like he he'd been doing it for years and only just recently got busted. And when you see people's reaction online to it, like I think even an article came up saying, "Oh, like, is it worth bringing back the death penalty for people like this?"
Yeah.
And like, obviously, these crimes are absolutely horrific, and they're, the guy's scum of the earth, basically. But like, when people get their emotions get involved with things like that, it makes them want to, they want blood, don't they? Like, they want to like take it back to those times where you would like, you feel like if they grabbed this guy, put him in the middle of the square, and then just you could throw stones at him, people would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I get all that, but it's not always that simple.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what? When people sort of jump in and they start saying that it's open and close, but I prefer to don't take this as me condoning anything he's ever done. But my opinion on crime and capital punishment is the fact that there has to be a form of rehabilitation, because I don't think people aren't just born evil. I don't think there's any scientist in the world that would support a born evil theory. You are your experiences. You are.
Oh, I disagree on that. I think people, but I think it's more brain chemistry or like disposition to it. Like, I mean, if someone's born, if you're born without empathy and you don't care, like, it's kind of, you can't change that. Doesn't matter what environment's around it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's part of it. Like, I think there's environmental factors. I think
definitely.
I think it's trauma, it's poverty, it's neglect, it's that push you to. So therefore, I feel like there needs to be some rehabilitation in punishment, because it's like, you didn't ask to be born, you didn't ask to be here. That's kind of where I go with. I don't think it's as evil as just, oh no, he's born evil, kill him. Like,
I agree with that. Yeah. But I do think people are born with dispositions like that, where they're like, there are cases where they've been, serial killers, normal murderers, and rapists and stuff like that, where they've grown up in a perfectly normal household, and they're just the odd. Or there's been cases where, why is it then they're born in really poor circumstances, but then how come one sibling got out and was fine and the other one wasn't? Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's one of those ones.
I guess it's this neurological or genetic components. I get that.
It's always the debate, nature versus nurture kind of thing, right? So it is an interesting subject, because how much of it is their own volition, or how much is it predisposed that they can't, it's just part of their DNA,
Yeah, fair. I don't know. I just always feel like your life's not sort of scripted out already. You know what I mean?
I agree.
There's ultimately something that pushes you, and whether that it's societal or you know what I mean? At the
end of the day, you've always got a choice, right? And you can choose to do it or choose not to do it. And then if you do, it's more like, well, it's always an end of debate with someone, like, are they mentally insane, or are they, saying, what it comes down to is basically, can you decide what's right and wrong? And if you can, then you're liable. You're guilty of doing it.
Yeah. And that's interesting as well. Like, a lot of these crimes and stuff, if someone murders someone, it's crimes of passion, or there's so much emotion involved, and you've just sometimes it's fight or flight, and you've just snapped. And I would argue we're all capable of that under the right circumstances. We're capable of anything under the right circumstances. So to sit there and condemn and say, oh, that they should. All right, we're talking about pedophilia here, which is a entirely different thing.
Yeah, that's the lowest of the low.
Lowest of the low, and that's different. But I mean, in terms of like crimes of passion and murders and that sort of stuff, it's like, you don't know why drove someone to that position. So to sit there and like judge them after and so calmly and stating all the facts in a way, it almost seems disproportionate to what actually happened.
Yeah.
Like, how can you sit there and judge them for something they did under that sort of stress? It kind of takes me back to the discussion we had even with 28 weeks later with when Don leaves Alice.
Yeah.
It's like, after the fact, you look at it coldly through those lenses and judge him for it. Oh, how could you do that? But you weren't there at the time. That's what's so clever about it.
Exactly.
Like, he's not. You're kind of judging for someone for something that was almost animalistic that you can't.
Then I guess
primal.
But then they would argue that would be manslaughter as opposed to murder.
Yeah.
And look, in court of law,
it's very difficult, because you can't.
But wait, you've seen cases too where it's a bit silly, like where they'll go, oh, because say someone does snap, like say they're at a bar fight and they kill someone in the bar fight. They'll go, oh, because you, I don't know, 5 seconds before sat down, then picked up a chair and hit the bloke, that's premeditated then. Where actually you could still say, like, no, he was still flustered and in the spur of the moment killed someone.
It's primal. You would argue that he probably wasn't in control, the
way lawyers do things and they say things. But it's one of those things, like, it's hard to judge. And,
it is.
Yeah, it's definitely above my pay grade.
Yeah, and perhaps this is tying into why it is so fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and we probably just hit the nail on the head. Look at us chatting about it.
I know. Yeah, it brings up all these thoughts and feelings and shit, doesn't it? Yeah. It's no, I guess it's like, because you said to me off air, like, you've never watched true crime a lot, have you? Like, you're not that. It hasn't really like caught you or you haven't been fascinated by it like other people have, right?
No, I've always been a little bit uneasy with it,
yeah.
but I've always been a little bit uneasy with the way the media are with it.
Yeah,
And I think
definitely.
recently with like Aaron Patterson and all that sort of stuff. But saying that, I think Making a Murderer I thought was fantastic. But I was blown away by that. But that's part of it. That's a story. It's an art. Certain stuff was left out to serve a story. And I was complicit in that.
The biggest mystery of that whole show was whether
Don't do it.
was whether he's going to WrestleMania or not. Poor Brendan. I had to say that.
I know.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, I would have.
Yeah. No, just on your point too about, with true crime, and you've always found uneasy with the media and stuff. Because I find it interesting where you see people online talk about, like, people get the shits with people shilling things or selling products and how could you do this and do that, and then on the same token they'll watch like a true crime documentary and they'll give money to like your Netflixes and your Stans and stuff, and you're consuming all this especially like all a Channel 9 for example in Australia, all their leading articles are about a murder trial and then they're putting ads on it and stuff. I'm like, where do you draw the line? Like, why is that okay? But then something, a YouTuber talking about, who's talking about a video game trying to shill you bloody better help or something is like the most abominable thing of all time. Like, I've always found that very hypocritical in that way.
Oh yeah, very hypocritical. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, because like you'll see definitely like genres like on podcasts and YouTube and stuff where the whole channel, the whole programming is based around that, and then they're profiting off that. So it's something a bit uneasy about it too, because like the criminal themselves can't profit off the proceeds of crime, can they? Like, say for example, a serial killer decides to write a memoir, they can't make money off that, but then a journalist who investigated it again can make millions of dollars off it. Like, why is that okay? Like, it's just a bit,
yeah, and it's almost like all the media coverage and everything around it would almost want to make you, if you were of that disposition, or and I know I somewhat sound of a hypocrite, but if you're of that line of thinking and you want to go down that line, you want to murder someone, that there's such industry in it, you would become a star. It's a way it becomes. So it's just the industry just keeps on giving. Yeah.
I know it's not typically murder, but like it is murder. Sorry, but it was like the mass shooting in America in the Columbine shooting.
Yeah.
And the way the media acted, and they wanted to they glamorized it, and wanted to know why they did it and how it happened, and the blaming everything from from Marilyn Manson to South Park and the Doom game, but by doing that, they made those two guys, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, like infamous. Yeah. And they're still referenced to this day. Like when you see another mass shooting, you find half the time you find out, the shooter was influenced by them, because all the build up and the sensation behind it, because all that media coverage it got, and attention.
And it's just media just trying to put a narrative on something. Yeah. Where perhaps there is no narrative.
Yeah. But also too, it's like at the same time, it is definitely the media, but then like, we're consuming it as well. We're all complicit. We're complicit in it, and we're fascinated by it. Yeah, and
that's probably the most uncomfortable thing about the episode we're about to go into. Yeah, that twist of like, oh shit, it's us. The mirror's us. It mirrors us. Yeah.
Sorry, one more thing before we get into it, but like, remember when the Boston bombing happened in 2013? I think it was. And I remember I was intrigued by it, and I was watching like live CNN, then doing the manhunt for the guy. And I remember when it all wrapped up, I remember thinking, why was I so intrigued? But it was the final first revealing moment, like retrospectively looking at it, I'm like, this is not right. Like, why am I glued to a TV watching something 6,000 miles away from where I am at the moment, following this thing, and in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really affect my life, but I'm so intrigued by it. And and I think the whole coverage of it was just very it was something about it felt wrong. Not wrong, but just really a bit distasteful, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's an argument to say my news probably peaked with the 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of a time where news has ever really been dare I say it, that good or that engrossing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, how do you ever? I don't know how you ever that's everything's really downhill from there, right?
Yeah.
You can remember the coverage of every single channel. It was just
wall to wall, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, dare I say, box office. The way it was consumed, and everyone trying to come in and talk about it, and everyone was glued to their TV, particularly in the Western world.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, we've said from previous episodes, whether you think it's not with 9/11, people say, it's overblown. Like, no, 9/11 did change the scheme of history, right? Where it was before.
The Western world,
Western world, especially, yeah. So, and that's why it was so, everyone was glued to the TVs about it, because we felt at the time, like, you know, where's the, is World War Three about to start or something, you know?
Yeah.
And we get that now all the time. Like social media, we thought it was going to happen with Iran recently, but it's kind of been on.
Oh, that's died. Yeah.
Yeah, it's died out now. Yeah, well, we've forgotten about it. Now we're focusing on the Coldplay couple. It's just,
Yeah. What will we be focusing on by the time this episode comes out?
Oh, that'll be old news by then. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the episode. I'll read a short summary here of this one. So, White Bear begins with a woman, Victoria, waking up in a house with no memory of who she is or how she got there. She finds strange symbols on the TV, pictures she doesn't understand, and a world outside that's disturbingly wrong. When she steps outside, she sees people silently filming her with their phones. They don't speak, help, or respond. Just watch. Soon she's chased by mass hunters trying to kill her. She finds a woman named Jem who claims society collapsed after a signal turned most people into passive voyeurs, addicted to filming violence. Together they try to destroy the transmitter, supposedly causing this. But just as they're about to succeed, the story flips. Victoria is captured. The entire world we've seen is revealed to be a justice park called White Bear Justice Park. Victoria was an accomplice to the abduction and murder of a young girl named Jemima Sykes. Every day, her memory is wiped, and she's forced to live out this cycle of fear and confusion as punishment, while the public watches as entertainment. The people filming her aren't under a signal. They're paying visitors, encouraged to spectate and enjoy her suffering. The episode ends with Victoria being reset and paraded through the park again, as crowds cheer and another performance begins.
Yeah. It's one of those episodes, there's like the plot twist at the end where she grabs the guy's, was it the shotgun, and then and then it's like a
you would almost say it shoots confetti or something.
Confetti, like a party popper or something. Yeah. And then it cuts to the live audience, and she's like a deer in headlights, and then they just grab her and just, like, strap her to the chair, and then make her watch the trial and the newsreel basically. Yeah. And then you as the audience is like, holy shit, like, oh my god, like, and as I said, like that conflicting feeling where this whole time she's like you at her, basically, you're following her, you're confused by what's going on and all this random stuff happening, you know, like the guy in the mask trying to shoot her, then the weird person with the
it's almost like The Purge, isn't it?
Purge, yeah, it's like Purge, actually, yeah, it has that kind of vibe. And then you're thinking these people just randomly filming and stuff, like, what the hell's going on? And then then you find out the reason why she's put through all that, and you're like, oh, like, yeah, she's a bloody awful person, but bloody hell, this is going a bit too far, isn't it? Like, that's what I felt from
it's disproportionate, and like, yeah. I mean, as I say, like, yeah, she is an awful person because she didn't do anything. She filmed what was happening, so she wasn't well, she was complicit because she did nothing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And she recorded it, but hence I suppose the punishment is proportionate, because I guess we're seeing at the start, and when she gets out of the house and there's people just filming and doing nothing, you know, it's kind of, that's what it's proportionate in that sense, but only once in the sense. Now that it's happening over and over again,
it's the part here when they take her back to the house again, and then you see him mark off the calendar, and it's like, oh, like, was it October like 18th and 19th? And you're seeing all the other days marked off. You're like, oh, this is like a repetitive thing all day, like every day. Yeah,
and that's the thing. There's two lines of thinking here when we talk about like punishment, retributive punishment. So in summary, that says we punish because a criminal deserves it. It's about emotional satisfaction, an eye for an eye, rather than improving society. So, you know, that's when you were talking about before, when they should bring back the death penalty. It's an eye for an eye. It's as simple as that. And Victoria's punishment is framed, I guess, in White Bear as it's what she deserves. And so you would argue that this is that sort of style of punishment, retributive. But there's also another line of theory, a punishment theory, is a consequentialist. It justifies punishment if it brings about a greater good. So basically a deterrence, protection, rehabilitation. So it's weird, because like this logic can also excuse punishing innocent people if it maintains social order as well. You know, if you think of it along the lines I would say I'd be more consequentialist in that sense. What I was saying before, there has to be some sort of greater good. So whether it be deterrence, whether in America, all right, the death penalty deters. And that's what's going to happen if I do that, but there's a part of me, we're all humans, and I can't help but think it's revenge. It's revenge dressed up as justice, right? That's
definitely,
yeah, that's, we're talking all this philosophy and shit, but it's wank. That's what it is underneath it all.
Oh, absolutely. When you see some of the footage of when, it's like they're about to be executed, they go, oh, it's going to be at 6 o'clock in the morning. There'll be people outside, like the picket lines, holding signs saying "Yeah, fry" or something like that. Yeah, like it's about revenge. It's about eye for an eye.
Yeah. And we're pretending it's not, but yeah, there's these lines of thinking, but where consequentialist justice can get you into trouble is, let's say for example, there's someone, I know, a rapist is on the run, or say you don't know who it is, you don't know why it's happened, but you've got someone that has done another crime, looks like a rapist. Do you grab him and throw him out? So he hasn't committed that crime, but he's guilty anyway. He's done it down the line, and this is serving that purpose. Okay, that's the problem. It presents these KPIs and reasons for it, So he'll be innocent for that crime, but he's probably done another one. It gets you into a bit
like getting Al Capone for tax fraud.
Yeah, essentially. But I would argue, the punishment that you see here is more is more retributive, but there's consequentialist, I guess, themes to it, in the sense of, when you get to the end where you see the mothers and the parents and the children there, there's that, oh look, you play, you do good, otherwise you'll end up like this kind of thing. They're all buying into it.
Yeah,
there's people filming it, so there's all this like industry built off of it as well. So it would probably be sold as that. It's this sort of revenge, but it's kind of sold as this consequentialist, and it's good for society because it will deter.
They're kind of making it like, not only is it educational, but it's a fun family day out, and then it's kind of like a theme park or something. Yeah.
Well, the White Bear Justice theme park, and then there's literal industry. There's literal industry built off it. They're talking about them with spectators going in, and
it's kind of like the old days when, like, the circus would come into town, and you had those like. They display, like, people considered, in air quotes, freaks or something like that. And then, look at this person, throw something at them. Ha ha. It's like that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I guess this is that critique of, like, I guess the true crime media or the industry that's built off of the back of this sort of stuff, where it's every day and it's a show, and spectators are paying, and they're all. Yeah, they get a live show basically. There's elements of theater in it. When you see who's about to be executed in the woods or being chased by the guy in the red jacket, and all that sort of stuff.
And then the actors are playing along with it, and definitely. And then how they have all those. Oh, look, if she gets a bit too rowdy, we've got a taser. We can put her in, control her, subdue her if something goes wrong. And was it the most important part of this whole thing? Is have fun, guys. Yeah,
that's probably the most uncomfortable thing.
Yeah, and I think they do it on purpose too, because initially too, I was reading that. When it aired on Channel 4, I think in the UK, the end credits where that shows like them remaking everything, all the actors getting ready for her day out, and then the spectators, and then they're in that audience and they're explaining the rules and how it all works. That was never part of it initially, and they only added it into the Netflix series. So I think that section is the most one of the most like eye-revealing section.
That's probably the most important
part. Yeah. What they do really well, the way they filmed it, is that they purposely film onto the people in the crowd, and you're seeing grandparents, normal parents, and the everyday people, like, and the little kids running around. They're all laughing, they're all joking. It's all one big game for everyone.
Yeah,
and they're all buying into it. There's no one's like going, oh, this is feeling a bit uneasy, or this is a bit off or something. That's all. The whole society is buying into this theme park amusement ride, aren't they? Yeah,
and all telling themselves it's for the greater good. But underneath it all, it's that whole. It's so
disconnect.
It's that primal thing of like, no, we want an eye for an eye here. Yeah, we need a scapegoat. And I would, I'd argue when we go into the talking about the punishment, like there's that kind of it hints on things. Well, it doesn't hint on it. It's quite present in the whole episode. But the psychological continuity. There's no chance for rehabilitation here, because you're basically, with showing her memory being wiped, you're punishing a stranger. And this opens up so much.
Yeah, that's the part where I felt, when reflecting on it, watching a couple of times again, like it'd be different if she knew, like it was like if you just took her out each day and like throwing tomatoes at her, and she knew what she's being punished for. Where it's kind of like a new persona, a new person, like, and they don't understand what's going on, and there is re-torturing a person from scratch all over again. I know you haven't seen the show, but like Severance is a bit like that actually, where people go to the workplace and they become a new person kind of thing, and it got me thinking of that, like. When they're resetting her brain again, she doesn't know who she is anymore. Like it's kind of gone above and beyond, hasn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's that thing of like, you ask yourself, is she's not the same? She's not the same person. If you think of like psychological continuity, it's the idea that identity is formed through a chain of memories and experience. That's what makes you as a person, and that can change over time. And this is part of what makes, I guess, dementia so sad. Is what often people say is the saddest thing. It's heartbreaking because the person you've loved for all these years they're not the same person
Well,
anymore.
they don't remember who you are.
They don't remember who you are, and all those experiences are gone, and they're empty now, and they don't. And that's so. Can you? That's what makes you a person. So it's like it's really troubling. It opens up other things, like you think of like death row and stuff. Because a lot of people, and myself included, I didn't know people were on death row for so long.
Oh, it's a good 20, 25 years.
Yeah. And there's an argument of like, you're already thinking, they'll case closed. All right, they'll be executed next week or something. I never really looked into it as much.
Yeah.
And I think probably a lot of people are the same. Well, or maybe they're not as stupid as me. I don't know.
No, because it's funny. Remember that show I was telling you about a couple episodes ago? Remember Oz, or something, the old prison show? What would happen? That someone would be found guilty and go to death row, and then they'd be dead by the next episode. It's like, well, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
No, it's a long drawn out process.
There's normally a lot of lobbying, and it opens up another can of worms.
Well, that's the argument too with death row, because they say, it's good to get, you murder them. They're not a drain on the system anymore. They're not costing us taxpayers money. But it's actually more expensive in the long run because of the appeal process and the court fees and the facility of holding them as well. And yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got some figures here. So actually in the US, the average time on death row is 18.9 years. And it kind of opens up. There's a few like other accounts here. I think there's a fellow called Raymond Riles in Texas. He was on death row for 45 years.
Wow.
And then he's resentenced due to mental illness. There's a Gary Alvord. He was 40 years on death row and he died of a brain tumor in prison. And look, there's a few others here, but the argument is like, you imagine like as an 18-year-old, you commit a crime, you murder someone, and then like say at 60, you're sentenced to death, or 50. Are you the same person?
No.
There's an argument like you're not. This is kind of what that opens up with her memory being wiped, because it's so much of like you will have changed from that person. It's like you're not. All right, if it happened the week after, then fine. But after all those years, it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the most terrifying thing about what if you put the wrong person to death and you can't undo it?
And I think that's probably part of why people are held on death row for so long as well, right? Because you can't reverse it, basically.
The crazy thing was that so many people, when DNA testing became a big part of the scientific part of crime solving, there's countless cases of people that were on death row or life in prison. They all got freed because the DNA proved that actually they weren't there. They weren't the ones at the scene. And you said, bloody hell! Imagine this one person on death row about to get executed, and that saves them at the last minute. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it is
scary. I think what the show really emphasizes too, this episode in particular, is Victoria. Initially, like, she's going through the motions, she's got a bit of a headache, but then when you're seeing them retrace her steps and put everything back in place again, and then she's going through the cycle again, it's like you can see her mental health is deteriorating. And it got me thinking too, because while she might not remember what's happened before, her body going through that stress every day, like, it put her in an early grave, you'd think, because like she's constantly being adrenaline pumped through her, fear, constantly in that deer in headlights kind of phase. Because there are studies on people that go through stress and trauma, like it can cause health issues and put them into an early grave or have a heart attack or something. So you can imagine, like, by the time she's she what, late 20s, early 30s in this, you'd say.
You'd say so, yeah.
Yes, by the time she's like mid to late 40s doing the same cycle every day, you think that you kill her, basically. Yeah, because it's so traumatic every day. And
that's the wonder, like, is it going to be every day? How long is this going to be for? Or is it just for the month? Or, you know what I mean? With that calendar at the end? You don't know. Will it change? Will the punishment change somewhere down the line?
Exactly, too. I think another point it raises, too, with this one, because it showcases that, it states in the episode that the partner, he committed suicide in jail before he could get his punishment. So it's like, we couldn't hold him to account. So you're our second best prize then. So you've been promoted to be the ultimate scapegoat now.
Yeah,
he's escaped punishment.
Yeah. I picked up on that as well. And one of the questions I asked myself after was like, so if he didn't commit suicide, like, and it would have been him in there, and would she have got off? Would they have looked at her? She uses the coercion defense, doesn't she? What does she say? I was under his spell.
Yeah, spell. Yeah.
Because as we say, she didn't murder anyone, but she filmed it happening. Yeah, and it echoes, and it made me look into this like coercion cases. So like there is like coercive control is like is what you would say is like a sustained pattern of intimidation, isolation, and manipulation, often used in abusive relationships. So it's legally recognized in the UK and Australia and the US, and it's a defense that's used quite a bit. So much so, but it kind of opens up this whole gender bias and sentencing thing as well. That makes you think, and coercive control is a very real thing. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah,
but it also opens up another kind of worms in the sense that if you look at the gender bias and sentencing, like there's a key stat here. So in the US federal courts, men receive sentences 63% longer than women for the same crimes. women are also twice as likely to avoid being charged and more likely to avoid prison time altogether. And I think there's like, we're talking about like the whole spectacle of justice and juries and stuff. That's a whole other thing where that's one thing that pisses me off about humanity is we talk about the justice system as this all encompassing marvel of humanity when at the end of the day, the jurors and stuff, they're humans and they're open to bias. You know what I mean? And I think this is where it comes into it, like there's that paternalistic or stereotyping in favor of women, like they're less culpable or more reformable, but I think, as I said before, when like when you're a kid or something, your mum or would say if you get lost, they'd always feel more comfortable if it was a woman that was there to help you or something. You'd always think a man, oh no, you'd a woman. It's a motherly instinct. They won't hurt you. And I think we generally think that in society.
Oh, absolutely.
And I found myself thinking this in the episode. I feel sorry for her, and I genuinely believe that she was under coercive control. But I have to sort of stop myself and thinking, well, no, she would use that as a defense, wouldn't she? And she'd play on the biases because people will do whatever they need to do to get out of a situation.
Yeah,
like it's as I say, it's a double-edged sword, right? If you sort of over lean on this sort of stuff, it kind of reinforces those sort of sexist ideas as well. When you're thinking like, oh, women are childlike or irrational or incapable of evil, they couldn't do that. Like it plays into all of that. Like, it's.
Beak, don't you have anything relevant to say?
Don't ask me. I'm just a girl.
And the episode's very ambiguous to it too, right?
Yeah, it's down to interpretation, isn't it?
It is. And that's, I didn't think I'd be thinking that, but it opened up that can of worms.
Yeah. No, I definitely felt like she was complicit in it, and like, but then maybe she didn't partake in it directly, as in like involved in the actual torture, but then maybe she got off on her husband or her boyfriend getting off on it kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what made her get her aroused or something. I don't know. That's what I kind of played. And then, as you said, like, in that episode, they're kind of saying she used that coercion defense, but then the newsreel was like, oh, the jury and the judge didn't buy it at all. They just said she was completely wicked and evil, and they used it.
Yeah. But it makes you think they probably would have bought it had her husband still been alive. You know what I mean? But I that's what I feel like. I feel like they needed the scapegoat. That's what I take from it.
Yeah, I guess I can look at it from a point of view. Yeah. Because as I said, like I don't believe in that defense, like as in, maybe people can be put under spells and like in other circumstances they wouldn't have done it, but then at the end of the day they still know right from wrong and they still went along with it. So you can't then be like, oh, you're not you're not culpable kind of thing.
I mean, what if there's a gun to her head or something? You know what I mean? Well, that's where it opens up that.
That's like kind of like a self-defense kind of thing then. That's a threat to violence.
Yeah.
But then if you're filming it and then helping dispose of the body and you're viewing it because my partner wants to do this and I want to please my partner, that's still not a good thing to do.
Yeah, I guess it opens up that whole the whole environmental thing and I don't know. Yeah, it's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, because another famous case, actually, I think it was in Canada. It was in the late 80s, early 90s, called the Barbie doll killers. And it was like another couple similar to the Moores murders, but she used the same defense as well by saying, oh, no, I was coerced. I had no choice in it. He said he'd kill me if I didn't go along with it. But then they found footage of her partaking in the act of killing someone.
I think I've heard about this.
Yeah. And then it kind of threw that whole thing, like, because she played the whole, I'm just a dumb blonde kind of trope thing. And then they're like, the footage actually showed her helping him tie up people and get things ready for the actual event, like the murder to happen. You're just like, yeah, maybe you're not so innocent as you made out you were, kind of thing. And they kind of help them. Yeah.
But it does play into that whole, the sexist ideals and the biases that we show towards a woman.
Well, the thing was,
because if you imagine a man turned around and said, "Oh, I was under her spell," like, fuck off, mate. Like, you'd laugh him out of the courtroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what sums it up perfectly is that she ended up getting released and is out now on parole and stuff, where he's still in jail for life. Yeah. So while technically he committed all the murders, but she definitely played a role.
Oh, she was complicit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
I think another thing this episode is trying to illustrate too is just, as humans with technology now with our phones, we're obsessed with viewing and recording things and kind of become so desensitized to it.
Yeah.
And I was reading a study actually that was done back in 2016. It was called the Virtual Empathy. That basically they were examining the exposure to online suffering, basically. So what happened? Like, what it found was that the constant exposure people see on social media to distressing content. So whether it's war footage, tragedies, injustices, anything rage baity or something like that, people get what's called empathy fatigue. So because they're constantly seeing harrowing footage or distressing footage, after a while, like you become numb to it. You kind of just become very vague and
Yeah, and I think we see that with like conflict fatigue with what's going on in the world. But yeah, it's almost like your brain can't. Well, I think we even spoke about before. We're not supposed to know what's going on everywhere else. We're only supposed to know what's going on within our tribe and everything, aren't we?
Exactly. And we're not meant to see graphic war footage of people like losing body limbs and.
It's almost like you can't store it anymore.
Can't store it anymore. Yeah. And I like. You scroll on bloody Twitter or X for 5 minutes, you'll see, it won't be long before you see something pretty horrific on there. And even now, like sometimes I see things and it doesn't like faze me like it would like 5 years ago because I'm so used to seeing it pop up on my newsfeed. It's really bad.
Well, yeah, sorry to interject, but I guess I even see it with meme culture now. I guess meme culture is almost an evolution of this.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
When nothing's off limits, everything's funny. There's memes within minutes of things, and that's half the time I'm getting my news from that and laughing at things I shouldn't be because it's a meme, and you're like, fucking hell, you've just got completely desensitized to it.
Yeah, well, as you said then, like sometimes you'll find out like a famous celebrity or someone died by a meme. It's just crazy how the world's gone like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it is interesting because like it was a famous case came out and it was in 2023. It was in Canada. And it was the killing of a guy called Paul Schmidt. So he was at a Starbucks with his wife and young daughter, and there was a guy who had mental issues, and he was vaping in the store. And Paul went up to the guy and said, "Oh, can you stop doing that? You're smoking near my daughter." And the guy stabbed the guy, and as he was bleeding out, he walked out of the store. A random guy called Alan Bodger pulled out his phone, started recording it, and he was just filming it and going, "Oh my God, bro, this guy's dead, bro," all this kind of stuff, and just, zooming in on the blood and on the people around, and it went viral for this guy's reaction to it, and he thought he'd become like a famous star from like recording this reaction to it, and he tried to make out like, I only reacted that way because when I was stressed, I got in that situation, that's how I reacted to it, and then later he recorded a video saying like how things like that don't really bother him, and he kind of enjoyed filming and recording it, and thought he'd go viral from it. So it just perfectly sums up like what's this issue with people coming so desensitized or viewing a tragedy like that as an opportunity to make themselves famous and notorious in a way.
And that's what this episode explores so well,
exactly,
doesn't it?
Yeah. And it made me think of that. And when I remember this happened back in 2023, it made me think of this episode. At the time, I'm like, oh, geez, like, yeah, maybe Black Mirror isn't a TV show. It's more it's a documentary.
It's a mirror to society. We keep using that every week, but it is, a Black Mirror.
Exactly, yeah. And, it was and it was kind of like, in a way it was good that people were like saying how disgusting this guy was acting like, and were calling him out for it because it's just like, it was so nothing but a phrase, very dystopian.
Actually, it's a really good segue to what I was going to go through here with the bystander effect, which is essentially what that is. The bystander effect is actually what's known. It's like a psychological phenomenon where individuals are less likely to offer help during an emergency when others are present. The idea, I guess, simply put, like the more people that are around, the less personal responsibility each person feels. So I guess it's not that people don't care, but it's that they assume that someone else will act. And I think like that pulling the phone out and recording is almost there's an evolution of that. To give you an idea, the trigger event for study on the bystander effect happened in 1964. Have you heard of the Kitty Genovese case?
I don't think so, no.
So what happened, it gained global attention. So there was a murder of Kitty Genovese in Queens in New York. So she was attacked outside of her apartment for over 30 minutes. So initial media reports claim that 38 witnesses saw or heard the attack, but did not intervene or call the police. So the New York Times ran the headline, 38 who saw murder didn't call the police. I guess it sparked national outrage about urban apathy and public inaction. Later investigations showed that some witnesses indeed did act, and others misinterpreted what was happening, but it also became a catalyst for psychological research. But they didn't act straight away. They waited till later, assuming that someone else would do something. So there was a study done here by, it's called the Latan and Dali study. So yeah, like what they see is like the psychological drivers for this is the I guess the fact that diffusion of responsibility, someone else will do something. So when there's many people present, responsibility feels shared or invisible. It's almost like, I guess today it's gone as far. You know when you send an email at work and you CC a million people and send it to other people and nothing gets done about it?
Yeah.
It's because everyone else assumes that someone else is going to do it and it's not for them, or they don't want to step on toes, or it's almost like that's the evolution of this, I would say. It's something primal in us, you know?
Yeah, and also so you don't want to be singled out from the crowd either.
Yeah. And there's social influence or social proof is they've found to be a driver of it as well. So the idea, nobody else is reacting, maybe it's not serious. So we often look for cues from others in uncertain situations, and you don't want to step out of that. You know, it's very, like, you fear that, like, and there's like a fear of judgment. Like, what if I overreact and I look stupid? And then there's the ambiguity, like, is it even an emergency, or is somebody just drunk, or are they carrying on, or are they not well in the head or something? You know what I mean? You don't want to get involved. You always hear that. I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a key study here done by Dali and Latana, and they were the drivers that found, but this was done in 1968. So what actually happened, the setup was, so participants actually believed they were in a group conversation over intercom. Halfway through this, so a participant, it was already pre-recorded, appeared to suffer a seizure. So what they did, they'd have them in like separate rooms, and it was like on intercom over a call. So one-on-one, when it happens, it was a call between someone, or when the one person supposedly thought they were speaking to someone else, it happened. 85% of people acted and helped. When there was one other person present, it dropped to 62%. And then when all five were present, it dropped to 31%.
Mm.
So the idea being that, like, everyone else thought everyone else was going to act.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they found. So
No, it's very true.
yeah.
I think I'd be like that, definitely.
Yeah, it hits home. It's a little uncomfortable reading this because there's certain cues that I do in public or I've seen. It's like that, you know.
It's funny. We had a work meeting the other weekend. We were going because one of my work colleagues is the fire warden, and she was saying, and she does first aid and CPR and stuff, and she was explaining to us how every year you got to upgrade your CPR certificate or whatever it is.
Yeah.
She said that she was at a music festival a couple of years ago, and someone had like an issue, maybe like they OD'd or something, or I can't remember exactly what it was. But she was saying that even though she was qualified to, help with CPR or do things like that, there was so many people around, and then someone was a nurse there, and she couldn't, because there was so many other people around, and then there was she thought, oh, I'm not needed here, I'll just stand back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And maybe think of that bystander effect because there were so many people around watching it. She felt uncomfortable wouldn't want to intervene or anything like that.
Mm.
So yeah, it just shows that, like, it's one of those. It's definitely part of us, and we're complicit in doing it.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people say it is primal. There's a lot of psychologists actually theorize the bystander effect and the evolutionary origins of it. So there's group conformity. So, like, acting alone in tribal societies could lead to, like, social rejection. It's
exactly.
like a hardwired risk aversion. So intervening without full knowledge could be dangerous. I guess back then, waiting saved energy and lives, basically.
That's perfect, because she was only CPR, where she said, "Oh, the nurse, they can do it," kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just we're worried about making the wrong mistake. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
and group.
Status preservation.
Yeah.
Basically, is one of the mistakes in public could cost reputation or position in the group.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's almost like hardwired into us. Yeah. But going on, in the context of this episode and what you were talking about with the phone, like, I feel like it's almost like an evolution of that into the spectator culture. So people now, their first instinct is to record distress. If you see a car crash, if you see someone fighting, you don't step in, you record it. It's content. About a music concert. Yeah.
We're all guilty of it.
Yeah. But people post about it. They watch trauma like it's entertainment. But I think almost something like the phone almost stimulates action. So it's like, it feels like you're doing something when in fact you're not. Oh, I'm filming it for evidence or something. I'm helping in some way. I can control it. But underneath it all, like in the case of what you were just talking about before, it's for shares. Like, I was there, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's
like, it's kind of like breaking news or something.
Yeah. And as you say, I think constant exposure to this sort of stuff, it dulls our ability to actually feel what you feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I guess too, it's kind of, we are rewarded for recording things like that. So
yeah,
it reminds me that, remember when it was like 10, 15 years ago, James Packer and the head of Channel 9, Dave Gingell, they got into a fight, these are two billionaires in Australia, and they got into a fight on the street in Bondi or something, and someone filmed it on their camera, the whole fight escalating. You imagine that. Imagine, I don't know, imagine Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg getting into it. It's for American people.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like the Australian equivalent. And the person who recorded it and filmed the whole thing, they got paid something like $500,000 for it, the footage. So it encourages that kind of, don't intervene, don't help, no, record it, and then you can sell it onwards and make a profit out of it. That negative culture of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And yeah, like, like, and just for someone filming a basic fight like that, and then you imagine like later, and we see it too through the media as well. You know, when like a tragic event will happen, and you'll see freaking like, oh, like the Channel 9 watermark or the Bloody 7 watermark on it. You're like, God, you guys are pricks for doing that. Like, just
yeah, it brings you. We touched on it a little bit before, but if you think of like the Aaron Patterson case right now.
Yeah, so for our international viewers, like the Aaron Patterson case, it's kind of like our OJ's case in a way.
Pretty much.
It was huge news. So basically, this lady lives in rural Victoria, which is a state of Australia, and she had her in-laws over for a lunch or something, and she made them a beef Wellington, and in that beef Wellington, she laced it with death cap mushrooms. So they slowly died a painful death over the course of a couple of days. 3 of them, and 1 survived. And yeah, the whole fascination about, initially it was like, oh, this tragic event. Then it became, oh, did she really poison them? And then it came out later that, yeah, she did. And then there was the whole, because it was like in a rural town and it was such an obscure murder as well. And like, why did she do it? And then what was the cause of it? And what was the outcome of this? What was the point of this kind of thing? And that drew a media frenzy. And yeah, recently the trial concluded and she was found guilty of the crime. But apparently, like the town where it was committed in, Leongatha, I believe, is the name of the town, the economy booms there because all the media outlets were there. People were fascinated by the trial. They were going to the locations. They wanted to know what was going on with it. It became like the hottest news in Australia for like the last 5 years. It was absolutely, everyone was enthralled with it. I mean, not me personally. I just heard it on the grapevine, but yeah, like I think you were saying like you were talking to a work colleague and they're like, oh, sorry, mate, the case has got.
I got to rush home. I'm really excited about what's going on. You know.
Yeah, I got to find it. Oh, she got found guilty. Blah blah. And you saw, like, I think it was Channel 7. I think it was. They were literally airing something on TV and they cut the programming to go straight to the verdict and saying it was like found guilty.
Well, I think at the verdict there was like 6 media stations there, just frothing, couldn't wait. And then like it almost seemed like within the minute of her being proven guilty, like the videos were on YouTube. You know, had been written up weeks before.
Oh, they're waiting
all
for
ready
it.
to go, and they were seething. They're like, when they get it out, it's just pumping out, and like bang, you know, when's the documentary coming out? When's the book coming out?
Oh, people are joking. Yeah. Oh, they'll use this famous Aussie actor to play in the new drama series airing.
There's that meme culture, yeah.
It's all but it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Well, it was like that. There was another case in Australia too, where this she was a con artist and she was siphoning money off from her workplace. It was, remember that one in like Dover Heights in Vaucluse area?
No.
In the eastern suburbs. Anyway, she was siphoning off money and they're about to come down on her, the police, and then she went missing. And then apparently she apparently committed suicide off the cliffs on the front face in near Bondi. And apparently her disfigured foot washed up somewhere down the coast or something. But then literally within a year after that happening, they already had like a TV series based on it. And all these podcasts were speculating what happened to her. Did she really kill herself? Was she a secret, spy agent? And she's been all this weird...
it's box office
stuff. Yeah, all these conspiracy theories. And the way the media is always like pumping the stuff up and making drama series and documentary series. Yeah, it's just that vicious cycle of it.
Yeah, I find it uncomfortable, you know, whether she was guilty or not. But here's the problem. I touched on a little bit earlier, you know, even with like the justice system and stuff. You know how I said like, you know, everyone's painted as a marvel of civilization, you know, built by humans, not machines. It's been this way for 500 years and it's also sophisticated, but like it's supposed to be impartial and logical, but there's humans at the center of it.
Yeah,
you know, like it's essentially driven by it's driven by emotion, culture, and culture. You know, and we sort of cling to that appearance of fairness. But this is what I think in like the Aaron Patterson case, like, you know, the jurors, you know, they're told not to look at media or they're told not to take that evidence into consideration, but like they're bringing their own baggage into the courtroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's social conditioning and, you know, personal experiences and confirmation bias and, you know, emotional instincts. You know, my gut tells me they're evil, you know, and then it just.
What was especially fascinating about this case is that this was kind of like the first big Australian case in the podcast social media era, I'd say, like where it was like everyone was kind of like intrigued by it, or knew about it at least, right? Or knew what was going on. And the court had to be like stopped multiple times because podcasters and people were making commentary on what was going on in the court case.
Yeah.
In Australia, we're under a thing called sub judice, when media and outlets are not allowed to report. They only can report what was said in court and the facts. They can't give their opinions and, oh, that means therefore she's guilty. Where I believe in America, you can comment on things like that, like you'll see on CNN, they'll be breaking down, oh, the attorney was right here, and oh, he performed terribly today, or that kind of thing.
But you got your courtroom TV over there, don't
exactly,
you?
yeah. Where in Australia,
that's box office, yeah.
Yeah, I think the same with the UK. We're very strict on what you can. It only can be factual from the courtroom, and you got to state it in a way where, like, oh, the defense said blah blah blah, and the prosecution said this and that was it. You can't go, oh yeah, I based on that, I think based on her body language, she's clearly guilty.
She's obviously guilty.
Yeah, you can't say, or the jury were looking in disgust at this point when this was brought up. Yeah, in Australia, you can't do that at all. So, and what this case was like, where people were doing that online. And they had to stop things because of saying people in the jury can see this stuff on what was going on online, and in the media speculation. So it kind of it caused issues in that regard.
Well, and that's the thing, like, and it often happens. But they'll go in and like, oh, you tell the jurors you can't speak about this case when you get home. You're sworn to secrecy and blah blah. Like, oh, like you're holding them thou, yeah. But like, and then the judge will say like, oh, to the jurors, like, oh no, ignore their prior criminal records or ignore media coverage. You can't take that in consideration. You promise you won't do it. You promise you. It's like, oh yeah, like fuck off.
Yeah, because someone's never lied on oath before, have they?
Yeah, it's just like, why do we pretend this works? And then like, just because they say that she's guilty, we now accept that she's guilty, and then all the stories come out. Blah, blah, like, as I say, whether she was or not, But then it kind of plays into that whole, I've got to stop myself there and check, it plays into the whole Winston Churchill thing of democracy being the worst form of government except all others.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the alternative?
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's...
You don't want the Russian legal system where they got 99% conviction rate.
Yeah. But it's just, I hate all that. I hate all the spectacle of it. I can't understand, like, why are we pretending that, why are we just pretending that this works or it's so like impartial when it's obviously not, like it's that's what shits me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. We saw that with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case a couple of years ago too. Similar kind of things, isn't it? Well, in that case, that was filmed in the courtroom, so you're seeing it live, and it's just it's very bizarre. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Look, in on that in closing of this episode, I guess this is what makes this episode so good. Like on the surface, it uses those sort of horror structure to make you feel like you're there with Victoria, and then you want to find the answers of why this world is what it is. You want to see her get away, and then it turns it all on its head. And I guess it's so clever in the fact that all these things we've talked about, it really holds up a mirror to our justice system, to our media, the way we consume it, to the way that the industry that's off true crime and murder coverage and all that sort of stuff, and I guess it makes you look at yourself. You know what I mean? It's such a clever episode.
Also with human psychology, with the eye for an eye mentality, and how we get so caught up in wanting, is it punishment over rehabilitation, that kind of debate, and how much is enough punishment? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like justice becomes theatre, doesn't it?
Exactly,
and it always has been. And we dress it up, and we can marvel at our, as I say, the justice system and how righteous it is, and
you use all the Latin and Greek words to make it sound so important. Yeah,
but at the end of the day, it's theatre, and it's feeds into that primal thing, and we want revenge, and someone needs to be a scapegoat. It's not important. We don't need to know why or what circumstances lead it, but we just need to know who's to blame.
Exactly.
And it's sold as some sort of closure, but I'm not always sure that it is. But like, sure, it's punishment, and there needs to be punishment, but it is also a product, and I think that's the most, in this age of capitalism that we're in, I think that's the most uncomfortable thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, like it's definitely, it's one of those those episodes you can't really rewatch it again, because the whole magic of the episode is that the twist at the end. That's what catches you off guard and really shocks you. I mean, going back and watching it is still brilliant, but the whole emphasis is that catching that person watching it the first time, and that, because then it makes you, that's when it makes you question, why am I feeling empathy for this convicted murderer? But at the same time, is the punishment really fitting of the crime? What her ongoing agony and torture for that? Like, do we want, and what do we do with criminals? Like, is it, I said earlier, is it that balancing act? Like, we do want some form of punishment, obviously, because what they've done is horrific. But then at the same time, like, do we want just to be like in torture and agony in forever until they die, or do we want them to learn from them, learn from their criminal acts, and then make them better people for a better society? Yeah, it's that fine balancing act. And I think it also taps into with social media, especially. And this was done back in 2013. This episode,
Yeah, that's 12 years ago.
12 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's only gotten worse from when he started recording. It was funny seeing the old-fashioned iPhone 4s and 5s, how small it was back then. But it's still relevant now, and
No, it's more relevant.
it's more relevant now.
And that seems to be a thing we say every week.
It is,
more
yeah.
and more relevant, and that can't be a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think back then you're seeing like because the people participating in it, like the crowds, they were also streaming, watching it as well. And I guess streaming wasn't like as big as it is now. Yeah, I think we didn't even have Netflix back then in Australia. I don't think in 2013, but now we do, obviously. But yeah, but it's because I think they were showing like through the 3G logo. Because remember how bad it was back in the day to stream was really like it was hit and miss with the mobile phone coverage. But now 5G is just like fucking so quick. Yeah. And yeah, you're basically like live role playing, watching it, and it was like a scavenger hunt for the crowd observing it. It was very. Yes, very. I found it very off-putting in some parts like that. Yeah, people buying into it, and treating crime and punishment like an amusement park. Yeah, it's just it was a very clever episode, and yeah, highly recommend anyone to give it a watch if they haven't already.
Oh yeah, me too. And it sort of makes me think of like, are we just as complicit with what we're doing with this podcast?
Yeah,
are we not sort of profiting off the misery of society? Oh, sure, we're taking a deep dive into thing and looking at historical parallels.
Well,
but...
technically we're not profiting yet, are we? So
no, not yet.
we're in the red. So
it's it opens up all of those. It opens up like, are we just are we complicit in it all? Like is what we're doing? We sit here and condemn it, but aren't we just the same?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, like crime's obviously the worst one, but then other aspects we're profiting off other things that maybe it's not, murder and mayhem, but then it's, you're causing damage to the environment in other aspects, or you're doing damage to the world around you.
Yeah, I mean, if the world wasn't so shit and there was all this shit going on, we would have nothing to talk about. So in that sense,
yeah, well,
it's pretty uncomfortable.
Exactly. I think as we touched on earlier in this episode, like both you and I are very fascinated by 20th century history, especially World War One, World War Two, Cold War. I mean, how many millions of people died during those events? Like, and we're fascinated by it. Maybe not directly like the actual deaths themselves, but the whole circumstances around it.
Oh yeah.
Then people are profiting off that, or people doing their podcast rounds on that. So it's one of those moral dilemmas, isn't it?
Yeah, and hats off to this episode of Black Mirror for kind of. Well, this is what it does.
Exactly.
It just turns it around and makes you question everything.
It does, absolutely.
That's probably the biggest compliment I could give to it.
Yeah, and it definitely won't be our last delve into Black Mirror either.
Well, and it definitely won't be the last Black Mirror episode that makes you feel empathy for someone, and then turns around and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, it's some pretty confronting stuff.
Yeah, on that note, so what can the viewers expect in next week's episode, Andrew?
So we are going back to a short story, and this one is called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty intriguing. From what I gather on a short read of it, it's about the scapegoating?
It's apparently, it's about scapegoating. It's a utopia area, but then but the utopia is only realized because of the punishment of someone else kind of thing. So it delves into that. And yeah, I haven't read too much about it, so it's kind of one we're both going in pretty blind.
A bit of a slide on capitalism there, right?
Yeah, it could be.
They need the poor to hold the rich up.
Exactly. Yeah, it could be. And it was written in the 70s, so it'd be interesting to see what was going on at the time when this was the inspiration for it.
Yeah, we haven't done a lot of historical context on the 70s, have we? We
dabbled into it.
We seem to have been talking about Ronald Reagan a lot over recent weeks, and with the stories we've been going to. So it'll be good to get in the 70s in the US. What were we, Jimmy Carter territory?
It'd be around the Nixon and then onto Gerald Ford territory.
Okay.
So it was written in 1973, so definitely around there. That's when Nixon was at his about to be impeached. So
yeah, oil crisis. There'll be a little bit to talk about there.
Definitely. Yeah, and as always, guys, you can follow us on our social media pages on Tumblr and Instagram at Dystopedia Pod. Send us an email at info@dystopediapodcast.com. Hit us up on YouTube as well at Dystopedia Podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, all those great things, and we'll catch you next week.
See you guys.